What's going on, folks? Hope you're having a wonderful night or day. Welcome back to the party. A few days ago, a developer blog post was released for Scars of Honor, and it has to do with monetization. The creative director answered a wide range of community questions about the game's design, monetization, and solo/group content during his weekly Twitch stream. It takes place every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Eastern Time on his Twitch channel, and it looks like they gave a breakdown for what the monetization system was going to look like in-game. Really love the fact that they're doing this. It starts off by saying that when asked what counts as pay to win, the creative director was clear: anything that affects the character progression, XP boost, loot boost, better drop chances is pay to win. Convenience items are acceptable to them as long as they don't impact progression. Extra bag slots, for example, are not considered pay to win if they can also be earned in-game, suggesting that they'll be earnable in-game, which is very good. I know there's definitely cases where gamers can consider bag slots to be pay to win, especially in some of the Korean games that function very similarly to BDO, where extra bag space can be a powerful upgrade. Typically in those kinds of games, your inventory tends to fill up with more trash items or even just equipment in general, so having extra bag slots can save you a lot of time on having to go back to town and coming back. So in that regard, for some people, it starts to get into pay to win territory. I don't think from what I've seen so far that we'll have to worry about that too much for Scars of Honor. The creative director also agreed with viewers who emphasized this point, confirming that any convenience items sold through monetization in the game must also be obtainable through normal gameplay. He stressed that players will never gain power, stats, or progression advantages through real money. Progression shortcuts like XP boosts or loot boosts are completely off the table, as they believe these systems undermine the MMO experience. I completely agree and hope they also feel that way about level boosting. I feel like that, along with the WoW token, has been a very sore pain point for WoW for a long time. A lot of people do use the level boost when it comes to expansions. I myself have used it before for sure, but it does take away from the MMO experience, and I do think the main reason that people use it is, one, it becomes bundled into the expansion, so you're kind of incentivized to do so, and also because it's kind of become the norm because it's been implemented so long that people have just stopped caring that it's there. The creative director then stated that he strongly believes that a cosmetics-only monetization model is sustainable. He rejected the common argument that MMOs cannot survive on cosmetics alone, explaining that the real issue lies in server costs. Using Beast Burst's custom in-house server solution, which costs effectively $0 per concurrent player, Scars of Honor does not face the same financial pressure as studios that pay per active user. Since the majority of MMO players never spend money, aggressive monetization is often used elsewhere, but he made it clear that this approach is unnecessary for Scars of Honor. Donations will not be implemented, subscriptions are fully ruled out. As he put it, subscription and free-to-play don't add up. Now, I think that's an amazing sentiment, and I do think that they will generate a decent chunk of revenue off of cosmetics, especially if they're badass, and the convenience items. But honestly, as a free-to-play game, I don't think, could be wrong, but I don't think people would be too upset about having a season pass if they needed to do that in the future. They do have a 100-person dev team. Everybody understands that you got to keep the lights on, you got to keep these people paid. So if it did come down to it, I think a season pass in a free-to-play game would definitely be acceptable by the wide majority. He then talked about early access and exclusive items. So early access is ideally planned to be free for everyone. He outlined two major issues with paid early access. If there is a wipe, paying players feel punished. If there is no wipe, new players feel disadvantaged, making it effectively pay to win. Because of this, he openly agreed with the chat sentiment that paid early access creates unfairness. There may be cosmetic-only early access exclusives, such as titles, skins, or emotes, meant purely to visually distinguish early players. These items would have no gameplay impact. Also, previously earned supporter and honored rewards remain separated and unaffected by early access. When it comes to battle passes, appearance points, and loot boxes were firmly rejected, thank goodness. Battle passes are only being considered under strict conditions, no pay to win, and no FOMO. I guess I could have just kept reading before mentioning the season pass, but he specifically supported the references where battle passes never expire once purchased. Now, I'm not sure what that means, because I'm assuming it means that maybe the same cosmetics will be available to everybody once they purchase the battle pass and earn their way through the chain, which that is a very interesting idea. I think there's actually something you could do there to circumvent the fact that you're not going to be using FOMO. Instead of having the battle pass expire and the same battle pass is going to be available for everybody once they get in, you could continually add stages and new cosmetics to it, not making it a crazy grind of course, but adding new stages to where it's kind of like starting a new season, but at the same time everybody can eventually earn all that stuff too. Something to think about at least, but appearance points were also discussed. These allow players to change the visual appearance of gear or characters without altering the stats. We got transmog. They are purchased through the shop and are considered fair, cosmetic only monetization, which that is interesting. I do like that one. I think that is going to be a really good way for them to generate revenue in a fair way. Comparisons with other MMORPGs were also mentioned. He drew on his experience playing a variety of MMORPGs during his streams, noting patterns in how other games handled progression and monetization. He He mentioned that many popular MMOs offer XP boosts, loot boosts, or other advantages tied to spending money, which he considers pay to win. While some games are PvE focused and allow players to farm items, he stressed that selling farmable items still counts as pay to win in an MMO context, even if the items are technically earnable through gameplay. These observations help explain why Scars of Honor is deliberately avoiding such systems and sticking to a cosmetic-only monetization, which thank goodness for that, because we've all played a lot of MMOs over the years where they do incorporate stuff like that. ESO, Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, of course, they all follow the same models because they know with how starved players are for new MMOs that they can get away with it. When it comes to bots, economy, and PvP, bots were described as a plague, I like that, with him emphasizing that economy destruction equals game destruction. Gathering mini games exist specifically to combat automation, and bots will be actively removed. Unlike many studios, Beast Burst does not profit from bot activity. Full loot open world PvP is not planned, as he believes it can damage MMORPGs long term. Instance battlegrounds will exist, but gear is provided for the mode, ensuring players never risk losing their actual equipment. Completely agree on that as well. I was talking with some buddies about this recently, but we've seen way too many games fall into that pit because they allowed open world PvP without the proper restraints. Even in cases where there are restraints, you don't always have games that can work out in that scenario either. Some games that can get away with it are ones like Albion Online and EVE Online, but not everybody can. Also not saying that there's not a place for open world PvP games, also not saying that they're not fun. I used to cut my teeth on Mortal Online, Darkfall, Gloria Victis, games like that and the rest of them, but I think in the modern day, MMOs need to act differently with how they incorporate these systems, because you've got to be a game that's bringing a lot to the table if you're going to be incorporating that. Now the last section is for the demo, beta, and monetization testing. The first demo is expected towards the end of Q1 or the beginning of Q2 2026 this year. Monetization will be tested during another phase later in 2026, where players will receive free cash op currency to test cosmetic purchases. Love that. This testing phase is intended to gather player feedback on player preference, such as skins or mounts, without introducing pay-to-win mechanics or pressure. Really love this dev blog. I think it was a great read. I really need to start jumping into those weekly Twitch streams and watching those because it sounds like we get a lot of great detail in those. That's going to be all for now, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.